What if I told you that lottery winners are more likely to go bankrupt than the average American? That people who suddenly acquire millions often end up poorer than when they started? It sounds impossible, but it's true. And the reason reveals something disturbing about how your brain handles money, something that's probably costing you a fortune right now, whether you realize it or not. See, we like to think our financial decisions are rational. We analyze, we research, we calculate returns and risk ratios. But underneath all that logical thinking, there's an ancient operating system running the show, a system designed for surviving on the African savanna, not navigating modern markets. This is your primal brain, and it's terrible with money. Let me tell you about Jack Whitaker. In 2002, he won the largest lottery jackpot in history at the time, $314 million. After taxes, he walked away with about $113 million. Jack wasn't some naive kid. He was a successful businessman who'd built a construction company worth $17 million. He understood money, understood business, understood how to create wealth. But within 4 years, almost all of it was gone. Jack's story isn't unique. It's depressingly common. Studies show that roughly 70% of lottery winners end up broke within a few years, not just back to where they started, actually worse off. How does this happen? How do people with more money than most families see in 10 generations manage to destroy it all? The answer lies in understanding what I call the lottery winner's curse. And it's not what you think. Most people assume lottery winners go broke because they buy too many cars and mansions. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is that sudden wealth doesn't change your neural wiring. It just amplifies it. Think of your brain like an old radio that's perfectly tuned to receive scarcity signals. For thousands of years, this served us well. When resources were scarce, the humans who survived were the ones who grabbed everything they could get their hands on, who feared losing what they had, who made quick decisions based on immediate needs rather than long-term planning. But when you suddenly have millions of dollars, that same radio starts picking up signals it was never designed to handle. Instead of making you cautious, wealth makes you reckless. Instead of planning for the future, you focus on immediate gratification. Instead of protecting what you have, you take increasingly dangerous risks. Jack Whitaker's brain was still tuned to the frequency of a construction worker from West Virginia. When faced with unlimited resources, he couldn't adjust the dial. Here's the thing that nobody talks about. You don't need to win the lottery to experience this curse. Every time you get a bonus at work, every time your investments go up, every time your income increases, your primal brain kicks into the same dysfunctional patterns. You've probably felt this yourself. You get a raise, and instead of saving the extra money, you upgrade your lifestyle. Your portfolio has a good year, and suddenly you're taking bigger risks. You come into some unexpected cash, and it somehow disappears faster than your regular income ever did. This is your lottery winner's curse in action, operating at a smaller scale, but following the exact same psychology. But here's what's really fascinating. While 70% of lottery winners go broke, there's another group of people who experience sudden wealth and manage it brilliantly. Professional athletes who sign massive contracts, entrepreneurs who sell their companies, heirs who inherit family fortunes. What makes the difference? Let me tell you about another story. In 1988, a young software programmer named Mark Cuban sold his first company, Micro Solutions, for $6 million. He was 29 years old, suddenly wealthy. Now, Mark could have easily fallen into the lottery winner's trap, bought the mansion, the cars, the lifestyle upgrades. Instead, he did something different. He treated his windfall like a business problem to solve, not a personal reward to enjoy. Mark took 80% of his money and put it into conservative investments, government bonds, certificates of deposit, boring, safe assets that would preserve his wealth no matter what happened to the economy or his future ventures. With the remaining 20%, he allowed himself to take risks, to invest in new businesses, to pursue opportunities. But he never touched that 80% foundation. This wasn't luck. This was a deliberate strategy to override his primal brain. See, Mark understood something that Jack Whitaker didn't. Sudden wealth doesn't change who you are. It just reveals who you are under pressure. If you're someone who makes emotional decisions with small amounts of money, you'll make emotional decisions with large amounts. If you're someone who can't delay gratification with $100, you won't suddenly develop discipline with $100 million. The difference between Mark and Jack wasn't intelligence. It wasn't education. It wasn't even experience with money. The difference was systems. Mark created rules that would protect him from his own psychology. Jack relied on willpower and good intentions. Now, here's the part that might surprise you. Your brain's terrible relationship with money isn't actually a bug. It's a feature. Think about it from an evolutionary perspective. For most of human history, there was no such thing as long-term financial planning. You found food, you ate it. You found shelter, you used it. You found resources, you consumed them immediately, or they'd spoil, get stolen, or disappear. The concept of storing value for decades, of compound interest, of building wealth slowly over time, these are brand new ideas in terms of human evolution. Your brain literally doesn't have the hardware to handle them naturally. This is why even smart people make dumb money decisions. This is why doctors and lawyers and engineers often have terrible personal finances despite high incomes. This is why people who can solve complex problems at work somehow can't figure out how to save money. It's not about intelligence. It's about operating systems. Your primal brain is running software designed for a world that no longer exists. And until you acknowledge this, until you build systems to work around it, you'll keep making the same predictable mistakes. But here's the good news. Once you understand how your brain works, you can hack it. The wealthiest people I know aren't necessarily the smartest. They're not the ones with the highest IQs or the best educations or the most sophisticated strategies. They're the ones who've learned to treat their own psychology like a business problem to solve. They automate their savings so they never have to make willpower decisions. They set up systems that make good choices easy and bad choices hard. They create artificial constraints that protect them from their own impulses. Most importantly, they understand that building wealth isn't about fighting your primal instincts. It's about channeling them in the right direction. Your brain's desire for immediate gratification, use it by setting up rewards for hitting savings milestones. Your fear of loss, use it by focusing on what you'll lose by not investing rather than what you might lose by investing. Your tribal instincts, use them by surrounding yourself with people who have healthy money habits. The goal isn't to become a robot. The goal is to become the kind of person who naturally makes wealthy decisions. And that starts with accepting a simple truth. The biggest threat to your financial future isn't the market, isn't the economy, isn't some external force you can't control. It's the 3 pounds of neural tissue sitting between your ears, running software designed for a world that disappeared 10,000 years ago.